Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna. So, thank you for joining us today. We are going to continue with our lecture series about Vaishnava Diksha.
Hvala vam što ste se pridružili večeras. Nastavit ćemo sa serijom lekcija na temu Vaishnava Dikše.
And last week we had just begun talking about the method of initiations after Srila Prabhupada's departure.
Prošli tjedan sam govorio o metodama inicijacije nakon Šrila Prabhupadovog fizičkog odlaska.
And I think we got as far as the 1985 meeting in New Vrindavan. Is that correct?
Mislim da smo došli do sastanka 1985. godine koji se dogodio u Vrindavanu, je li tako? Nešto?
Correct? Anybody remember that?
Da li se neko sjeća?
No. Okay. All right. So, and just going back to recap a little bit, in 1978 at the annual general meeting, the GBC announced that there would be 11 zonal gurus, 11 zonal acharyas for all of ISKCON.
Ukratko ću ponoviti nešto sa prošle lekcije. Znači, 78. godine nakon odlaska Šrila Prabhupada, ISKCON GBC su odlučili da će biti 11 zonalnih ačarija u ISKCONu.
And that they would be the only disciples of Srila Prabhupada that would be allowed to give initiation in ISKCON.
I odlučeno je da će oni biti jedini Prabhupadovi učenici kojima će biti dozvoljeno da daju inicijacije u ISKCONu.
And furthermore, that anyone, let's say they divided the world up into 11 zones, and whoever wanted to take initiation in a particular zone must take initiation from the guru of that zone and nobody else.
Oni su podijelili, GBC je podijelio svijet u 11 zona i jedna zona je pripala tom jednom takozvanom ačariji. I ako je neko htio dobiti inicijaciju, mogao je isključivo dobiti inicijaciju samo od toga ačarije koji bi zadužen za tu zonu.
I think some of you are old enough to have probably been involved in that. Huh? Any of you, please? Were you initiated by zonal guru, Gora, Prabhu?
Jel neki su od vas dovoljno stari u bhakti jogi da imaju iskustvo tog, da li je neko iniciran od zonalnog gurua?
So when I want to go over this history through the present day, and all of you will have experience in that time frame. And so I'm happy to welcome your comments in terms of your experience.
Znači, ja sam od tog doba nastavio govoriti malo o Vaishnava Dikši sve do današnjeg dana, kako se to odvija, ali volio bi čuti vaše komentare u vezi Vaishnava Dikše.
Now, of course,
vaše komentare i iskustva.
So, of course, this is not Vaishnava Siddhanta, this idea of zonal gurus. And many devotees were very disturbed by this idea, but those who wanted to take initiation in the line of Srila Prabhupada, they had no choice.
Ta ideja sa zonalnim ačarijama uopće nije podudarna sa Vaishnava Siddhantom, ali oni koji su htjeli dobiti inicijaciju nisu jednostavno imali drugog izbora.
And of course, there were many devotees who accepted this from the GBC, accepting it as the will of Srila Prabhupada, and were very happy to go along with that.
Naravno, bilo je tu i puno bhakta koji su jednostavno prihvatili tu odluku GBC-a kao da je to uputa Šrila Prabhupada i jednostavno su išli dalje sa tim.
So this continued throughout the 80s, and however, in the meantime, some of these acharyas who were supposed to be the authorized representatives of the Supreme Lord, they were falling down from the standards of spiritual life.
Naravno, takav standard davanja inicijacije se nastavio kroz 80. godine, da bi početkom 90-ih mnogi od tih takozvanih ačarija od kojih se očekivalo da su predstavnici Boga, Krišne, počeli duhovno padati.
So the early 80s was a very disappointing time. We had many sannyasis falling down, many gurus falling down, and on top of that, they introduced the 1983 abridged edition of Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita.
Početak 80. godina je bio veoma težak za ISKCON, bilo je puno sanjasija koji su pali, bilo je puno gurua koji su pali i te iste 83. godine izdali su skraćenu verziju Prabhupadove Bhagavad Gite.
So this was building up very, let's say, a great backlash was building up especially among the God brothers.
Tako da to je dovelo do velikih nesuglasica među braćom po Bogu, Prabhupadovim učenicima.
Now at that time, all of the temple presidents and regional secretaries, if there were any, most of them, if not all of them, were disciples of Srila Prabhupada.
U to vrijeme velika većina predsjednika hramova i zonalnih sekretara su bili uglavnom učenici Šrila Prabhupada.
And they were what is generally called the second line of management.
I oni su vodili upravljanje, management, kako bi to rekao,
Second tier
druga
of
generacija.
management.
Kao
management
Da.
druge generacije, da.
So in other words, the GBC, they were at the top level of management, then the temple presidents, they were next.
Znači, na vrhu managementa je bio GBC, a nakon tog su bili predsjednici hramova.
And because they were mostly disciples of Srila Prabhupada and in one sense peers of the GBC or the gurus, they had a lot of political power, political weight, and in 1985 they put their foot down and said, "This is not going to go on. We're going to put a stop to this."
Znači, u to vrijeme ranih 80. godina, kao što sam rekao, predsjednici hramova su bili uglavnom Prabhupadovi učenici. Znači, i oni su imali dovoljno moći i autoriteta da kažu GBC-u jasno i glasno, ovako više ne ide dalje.
So prior to that time, one by one individual devotees would leave, but in the mid-80s, a group of them got together, both sannyasis and temple presidents and other prabhus, and formed what they called the 50-man committee.
Prije toga vremena su bakte jedan po jedan odlazili, ali u jednom trenutku su se sanjasi i neki guruji udružili i napravili su jednu, kako kažem, udruženje od 15 osoba.
And so it was this 50-man committee that said this is going to stop, and they called for a meeting of all God brothers and God sisters in New Vrindavan in 1985.
I njih 15 su 85. godine sazvali sastanak u New Vrindavanu da bi se promijenila ta situacija u ISKCON-u.
And so not all of the gurus came to that. Perhaps it was all of the North American GBC, but in any case, it wasn't all of them.
Nisu došli baš svi guru i GBC na taj sastanak, a uglavnom su bili oni iz Sjeverne Amerike.
And Many devotees, they had open microphone. Many devotees would stand up and voice their dissatisfaction and tell of the problems that were being created and how this process was also against our Gauriya Siddhanta.
Svi učesnici su imali otvorene mikrofone, oni bi se ustali i izrazili svoje nezadovoljstvo o tome kako taj proces koji je ustanovljen je protiv Gaudija Siddhante.
And so the GBC understood that they had a rebellion on their hands, and they took action, which is a political expediency that is generally used, which is to co-opt the opposition. That means to allow any God brother that wanted to begin initiating disciples to do so.
Sad su GBC vidjeli da tu imaju neke bakte u opoziciji koji se ne slažu s tim i njihova politička strategija je bila takva da su nekim opozicionarima ponudili priliku da i oni sami budu guruji, samo da bi ih pridobili.
And so at that time, a number of God brothers did begin to do that. Not many. I don't remember the exact number. Maybe it was not more than 24 in any case.
Neki, otprilike 20-ak njih su prihvatili tu ponudu.
And also, I believe the zonal acharya thing was abolished. That is, disciples could choose a guru, spiritual master from anywhere in the world.
Znači, od tog sastanka pa nadalje, 85. godine, ukinuta je ta politika zonalnih ačarija i onda su učenici mogli izabrati bilo kojeg učenika u kojem dijelu svijeta, nije bitno.
So am I remembering that right? Does anybody have any corrections to what I'm saying? Any of you that were present?
Jel ima neko pitanje u vezi ovoga što sam do sada rekao?
Go on, Prabhu.
I just, as I recall or remember, I was present that time, but the problem was that maybe officially it was possible to accept someone from the other zone, but practically there were no visits of any sannyasis who are from the other zone. So practically there was just a limit of limited number of devotees who were appointed to work as initiating spiritual masters, but within this zone, not from externally. I know that some devotees tried, but practically it was almost impossible. Because there is no, even there are no visits. I remember Sridhar Maharaj was coming here beginning of 90s and then like that, but it was just occasional visits, but not regular visits from other sannyasis, from other potential spiritual masters from other zones. So practically there was only choice, like the Ford says, you can choose whatever you want as long as it's black. So here you can choose whatever is on the list here in the zone, and that was it.
Okay.
Možeš prevesti pravo ovo što si rekao.
Htio sam reći samo da možda je bilo potencijalno moguće izabrati neku duhovnog učitelja iz drugih nekih zona, ali praktički nije bilo uopće posjeta sannjasija ili potencijalnih duhovnih učitelja iz drugih zona. Tek 90. godina se da Sridhar Maharaj je počeo dolaziti, tako neki drugi, to su bili pojedinačne posjete, ali uglavnom su bili samo lista gurua koji su inicirali iz ove zone, tako da je praktički izbor bio vrlo ograničen.
And of course, this is before the internet. This is before we have present modern communication. So the only way you could hear of anybody is if you happen to get some tapes from some other yatra or some
U
other.
to vrijeme nije bilo ni interneta, ni komunikacije kao što imamo danas i jedini način da čujete nekog iz drugog dijela svijeta, to je bilo da dobijete nekakve kasete, trake da čujete sa njegove lekcije tako, na taj način.
And I would imagine that it continued this way through the 90s, maybe up until the end of the 90s.
I na taj način se nastavilo kroz 90. godine, možda čak i do kraja 90-ih.
Rudra, when did you come around?
Rudra Prabhu,
your
kad si se ti
experience?
pridružio? Kako je tvoje iskustvo, Rudra?
Ja sam iniciran 2001. godine i to je već ja mislim bilo sad po novom. A prije toga ja sam imao kontakt sa jednim 86. godine sa jednim baktom, on je vjerojatno taj koji je imao ta iskustva.
I was initiated in 2001, so I don't have that experience you are talking about, but I associated with one devotee who was in 1986, but he had that experience, not me.
Okay. Yoga Gamya, how about you? When did you
I
come to
Yoga Gamya Prabhu,
Krishna consciousness?
kad si ti došao u svjesnost Krišne? Mikrofon ti je isključen, tako da imaš u donjem lijevom uglu gdje piše mikrofon, pa tu uključi se. He's muted now.
Yeah.
Jel vidiš kako? Znači, skroz dole, ako koristiš kompjuter. Da, pravo.
There you go. Okay.
Ja. Znači, Maharaj je pitao kad si se ti pridružio, kako to je iskustvo bilo u vezi inicijacije?
Ja sam se pridružio 2010. godine.
He joined in 2010, in spite of his age.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, look, judging from your age, I thought you were, yeah.
He cannot hear properly, that's why he's talking at the same time. Yeah, he got initiation 2010 from Smita Krishna Swami. He is my god brother.
Okay.
Thank you,
All right.
Prabhu. Hvala ti.
Okay. Thank you very much. So, around the middle 90s.
Yoga Gamya Prabhu, isključi sad mikrofon.
So, it was around the middle 90s that that I remember, and I did not check on this, so the date may be wrong. This open, let's say, permission for any godbrother to give initiation, this did not last very long. Before then, the GBC started requiring the prospective gurus to submit an application for approval.
Znači, od 85. do otprilike 95. manje više svako je mogao postati guru od pravopodobnih učenika ako se smatrao kvalificiranim, ali od sredine, znači 95. i GBC je počeo tražiti određene zahtjeve od onih koji su htjeli biti guruji, određene odobrenja i određene njihove, kažem, tražili su neke kriterije od njih.
And initially, it was they would require approval, but then that was changed within a short time to no objection.
Znači, od njih se tražilo neko odobrenje, a kasnije su uveli nešto novo što se zvalo nema primjedbe.
And this process then adopted the name the rubber stamped gurus.
I od tada je taj proces počeo poznat biti kao onaj koji je guru postao guru samo što je dobio štambilj.
And you have heard this expression?
Yes.
Okay.
Ja, samo tako što neko je štambiljem lupio, taj postao guru, samo tako.
And of course, this is somewhat derogatory.
Naravno, to je malo pogrdni izraz.
You know, and so the idea was that there had, since we're in a institution, there had to be some approval process by which the person who was going to act as a guru representative of the institution could be certified that they were in fact qualified for the position.
S obzirom da smo mi članovi institucije, oni su nametnuli određena pravila da osoba koja koja će imati funkciju duhovnog učitelja, mora imati određeni certifikat i određeno odobrenje.
So then the way that worked is that a devotee who would like to do this service of giving Diksha initiations, that they should submit their name. And there was a period of time that the GBC, or let's say GBC or temple presidents could object to the person having that position. And if there were, go ahead, do that. I'll do the rest.
Znači, postojala je lista tih koji su htjeli postati gurui, međutim, predsjednici hramova i GBC članovi imali su pravo da daju svoje protivljenje i da kažu, ovaj ne može biti guru.
If there were no objections over a period of some time, I forget, maybe 1 year, then they had the green light. And if there were a certain number of objections, they would be blocked. And if the objections were not, or if there were some objections, then there would be a meeting with that respective guru and a discussion with the GBC.
Znači, ako u periodu od godinu dana nije bilo primjedbe od nikoga, ta osoba je mogla postati guru. Ako je bilo puno primjedbi, nije mogao postati guru. Ako je bilo tek nešto malo primjedbi, on je morao razgovarati sa GBC-em da vidi što će biti.
And I believe it still works that way up till today.
I ja vjerujem da je to onako kako funkcionira sve do današnjeg dana.
Then there was also, sometime between the turn of the century and now, and I don't have the history exactly.
Ja mislim da je to tako nešto na prekretnici stoljeća. Mislim da je tako bilo nekako.
I started to research and going through all of the resolutions from the AGM, but there's a lot of them, 30 years.
Ja sam napravio jednu malu istragu o tome, ali kad sam vidio sam da ima puno nekakvih rezolucija koje su oni napravili, onda nije lako napraviti istragu.
Somewhere along the way, there was the ISKCON disciple course was created.
I negdje usput oni su izmislili kurs koji su učenici trebali pohađati prije nego što bi dobili inicijaciju.
And also an ISKCON guru course.
A isto su uveli i ISKCON guru kurs za gurue.
So Rudra, did you have to take the ISKCON disciple course?
Rudra Prabhu, jesi ti morao pohađati taj kurs za prije inicijacije?
Ja jesam trebao. Bilo negdje, ne znam, jedno skoro 30-ak nekakvih pitanja, to sam morao naučiti na pamet. I dobio sam doma, kako bi rekao, članove žirija, jedno 3 koji su došli me ispitati kod kuće. I moja supruga isto, da, to smo bili.
So, I had to go through this disciple training course, and we got me and my wife, we got some 30 questions, and there was a commission of 3 devotees who came to our home to see how we are doing.
Okay. Now there's 2 things. There's the ISKCON disciple course, and then there was a test that you would have to pass also to be able to accept initiation. So are you talking about the course, or are you talking about this exam?
Sad imamo tu 2 stvari. Znači taj ISKCON disciple course, taj kurs koji su učenici trebali proći kroz da bi dobili inicijaciju, ili test koji se trebalo položiti. Sad ja ne znam, Rudra, šta si spominjao? Da li je to bio test ili
To je,
baš...
to je, to je bio test koji sam ja morao položiti, da, tako a htio sam samo reći da sam kad sam 86. godine došao u prvi kontakt, ja sam počeo čitati Prabhupádove knjige, pa sam onda našao adrese tamo u Zagorju u Pregradi gdje su bili bakte, onda prvobitni bakte u Hrvatskoj praktički. Onda sam kasnije čuo da su njihovi guruji jednostavno padali i da je toga bilo jako puno.
Rudra Prabhu. Samo da skratimo, da odgovorim. I was supposed to pass exam, actually. That was an exam. But in 1986, I came in touch with other devotees, and from them I heard that many gurus were falling down.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. And did you have to, besides the test, did you have to take the course? Did they have the course at that time in their early 2000?
Da li su, pored tog testa koji si morao polagati, da li si morao ići kroz kurs, baš da te uče, tečaj jedan bio, jesi prolazio kroz to?
Ja sam dobio na pismeno pitanja, odnosno taj test koji sam ja morao naučiti, ja i moja supruga, i onda smo dobili kod kuće komisiju koja je to praktički ispitala.
Aha. He and his wife, they got a brochure with the questions. There were some texts they had to learn with the questions, and then there was a commission of 3 devotees who came to their home to see how they're doing, if they passed the test.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And who else? Maybe somewhat later, Yoga Gamya. When you were taking initiation, did they have the ISKCON disciple course for you at that time?
I Yoga Gamya Prabhu, kad si ti dobivao inicijaciju, si morao proći kroz ISKCON kurs, određeni tečaj prije inicijacije?
Where'd he go?
He's gone.
He hit the wrong button.
Yoga Gamya Prabhu, jesi čuo šta smo rekli?
Ali izbacio me, često me izbaci iz toga.
Aha, jesi morao prolaziti kroz neki tečaj prije inicijacije?
Da, trebao sam odgovoriti pismeno na 13 pitanja, i ako je bio guru zadovoljan, znači onda sam mogao dobiti inicijaciju.
He said that
ta inicijacija mi je bila nešto najljepše što mi se dogodilo.
He said that he had to answer, he got 13 questions on a sheet of paper, and he had to answer to them. So if a spiritual master was satisfied with that, then I got initiation. And that was the best thing that happened in my life.
The course came much later here in Croatia. Because it had to be translated, and someone had to pass so that become official examiner, etc. So for many, this is these 13 questions, but these 13 questions were more or less meant to be passed by a candidate before accepting spiritual master, to understand a basic philosophy, what a spiritual master is, etc. But the course came later.
Možeš prevesti se.
Taj ISKCON disciple seminar ili kurs je došao dosta kasnije u Hrvatsku, morao se ga prevesti, onda sam morao neki bakte naći koji će biti kvalificirani da ispituju taj kurs, da ga drže, održavaju i tako dalje. A dugo godina prije toga su uglavnom bila 13 pitanja, ali one nisu bile namijenjene za inicijaciju, nego bi trebalo biti zapravo polagana od kandidata za inicijaciju prije prihvaćanja duhovnog učitelja, gdje se testiralo temelji filozofije, tko je Prabhupada, ISKCON, kvalifikacije učenika, gurua i tako dalje.
So just so you know, I also had to pass the test. We had the test that was a very simple test, basically to indicate that you understood the basic philosophy. Who is Lord Chaitanya? You know, why do we chant the Hare Krishna mantra? Very simple exam like this.
Ja sam isto prije svoje inicijacije trebao proći jedan test, ali to su bile onako vrlo jednostavna pitanja, čisto da se vidi koliko je neko razumije suštinu vajšnavske filozofije, zašto mantramo Maha mantru, ko je Chaitanya Mahaprabhu i tako dalje.
So yeah, I believe you're correct that the ISKCON Disciple course came maybe around 2015 or later.
Taj Iskon Disciple kurs, taj kurs za učenike je došao negdje oko 2015. godine ili malo kasnije.
So I want to just now, I'll go through the Diksha process. This was as of 5 years ago. This is taken from my book.
Sad ću malo govoriti o procesu Dikše, kao što sam ja prije 5 godina napisao u svojoj knjizi.
And so this indicates more recent information. It may be updated since then.
Ja sam u ovoj knjizi nešto napisao o tome, ali sigurno ima nekakvih novosti koje su nešto se promijenilo od tada.
So now, first of all, the person who is the candidate who's desiring to be initiated, he is restricted, not told that he may not approach directly the person that they want to receive initiation from, but must go through their local ISKCON leader, temple president, or so on.
Znači, ustanovljeno je da osoba, kandidat za inicijaciju, ne može direktno prići duhovnom učitelju da traži inicijaciju od njega, već to mora kroz autoritet kao što je predsjednik hrama.
And of course, this is reasonable because, again, in Srila Prabhupada's time, it was the local temple authority who knew that person and who knew of their qualification and who could vouch for them in their following the principles and their sincerity about Krishna consciousness.
Naravno, to ima smisla, jer čak i u vrijeme Šrila Prabhupada predsjednici hramova su davali preporuke Šrila Prabhupadu za kandidate, jer su oni poznavali lokalno te ljude i znali su koliko su kvalificirani i ozbiljni u prednom služenju.
So then if the local authority agreed that they could begin the process, then they were required to take the ISKCON Disciple course and pass the test at the end of that.
Znači, ako bi se lokalni autoritet slagao s tim da oni dobiju inicijaciju, onda su oni morali proći kroz taj kurs, taj tečaj i na kraju polagati test.
Now, so we've got, and then in many yatras, there was only one person who would administer that test. So then you have two gatekeepers, you have the temple authority president, and then the person who is administering and evaluating the test. So these two persons must first give their approval for the candidate to move forward.
Znači, bila je jedna osoba u određenoj zoni koja je zadužena bila za te testove, a dvojca su odobravali kandidatu da može ići dalje, znači predsjednik hrama i još jedan lokalni autoritet.
And in the ISKCON Disciple course and in that test, there was a lot of emphasis given to the GBC body.
Sad. U tom testu stavlja se veliki naglasak na tijelo GBC-a.
So in the test, for example, there were questions such as, what is the position of the GBC body? What is ISKCON? And why should one remain in ISKCON?
Tako da se postavljaju pitanja što je GBC tijelo, zašto neko mora ostati unutar ISKCON-a.
So, of course, you would not be able to pass these tests or not giving a passing grade if you were, let's say, politically active against the GBC.
Sad, taj test niste mogli nikako položiti ako ste bili malo politički aktivni protiv GBC-a.
So I've met devotees they've showed me their test and their answers, and their answers were perfectly adequate. However, they were failed for the test because they were objecting to how the GBC was handling money in one of the restaurants in their yatra.
Ja znam nekoliko bakta, poznajem ih, oni su mi pokazali svoje testove kako su napisali i njihovi odgovori su bili odlični, ali nisu prošli test jer su u svojim odgovorima javno izrazili svoje nezadovoljstvo o tome kako je GBC u njihovoj jatri rukovao sa novcem u restoranu lokalnom.
Then furthermore, of course, the candidates, they were only allowed to take initiation from those gurus who were approved by ISKCON.
I nadalje, kandidatima je bilo dozvoljeno da dobiju inicijaciju samo od gurua koje je odobrio GBC ISKCON.
And of course, from those gurus who were, let's say, aligned with ISKCON.
I naravno, misli se na one gurue koje su bili, kako da kažemo, na liniji sa ISKCON pravilima.
So what this is doing is introducing a third party to, like we say, rubber stamp the qualification of the guru. However, this became a problem because as of, let's say, because approximately, more than 1/3 of them either fell down or were sanctioned by the GBC.
E sad tu je bio problem, znači GBC se uvukao kao treća stranka koja je uticala na inicijaciju jer oni su odobrili samo određenim osobama da budu gurui koji su bili pokorni njima, a 1/3 njih je popadala.
So naturally, the disciples, they become disturbed if they think that, okay, the GBC has sanctioned this person as my guru, but then later I find out that he's fallen from his position. So then the disciple is very bewildered. Well, what does it mean that he is given sanction by the GBC if he later falls down?
Učenici su postali masovno zbunjeni kad su vidjeli da je GBC sankcionirao njihove gurue koji su počeli padati.
So then later, also then the disciple at his initiation is required 5 things that were not required before.
I otad se počelo zahtijevati na inicijacijama 5 novih stvari koje se nisu potraživale ranije.
And in their vows, they must take a vow to chant a minimum of 16 rounds and follow the 4 regulative principles.
Trebali su dati obećanje da će mantrati 16 krugova najmanje i slijediti 4 regulativna principa.
To accept the order of the spiritual master as one's life and soul.
Da prihvate naredbe svog duhovnog učitelja kao život i dušu.
To accept discipleship into the Brahmada Gaudiya Sampradaya and to remain faithful to their order and teachings.
I da dobiju inicijaciju Gaudija Madhava Sampradaje i da budu vjerni učenjima te Sampradaje.
But then they had to vow one other thing, which is contrary to that last one.
Ali onda su trebali dati zavjet koji je u kontradikciji sa ovim zadnjim.
And that is to remain faithful to Srila Prabhupada's order by maintaining loyalty to ISKCON and its ultimate managing authority, the GBC.
To znači da su trebali održavati svoju lojalnost vrhovnom autoritetu ISKCON-a, a to jest GBC.
So there's nothing in Gaudiya Siddhanta that makes any provision for a third party in the vows of the disciple.
U Gaudija Siddhanti uopće nema mjesta za to da se nekoj trećoj stranci pridaje značaj prilikom procesa inicijacije. Diksa.
And so This is another place where the GBC body, they have deviated not only from Srila Prabhupada's instructions, but from the Gaudiya Siddhanta.
Na taj način su GBC članovi napravili devijaciju ne samo od Srila Prabhupadovih učenja, nego i od Gaudija Siddhante.
So that's the situation that we have today.
I to je situacija kakvu imamo danas.
The gurus must be approved by a third party. The guru-disciple relationship must be approved by a third party.
Guru mora biti odobren od jedne treće stranke i odnos između gurua i učenika mora biti odobren od treće stranke.
And in the ISKCON disciple course, it is emphasized repeatedly that the devotee is taking initiation into ISKCON, and that the GBC body is as much of as guru as his own guru.
I u tom disciple kursu, tom tečaju piše da kandidat dobiva inicijaciju od ISKCON gurua, ali da mora biti pokoran autoritetima GBC-a kao trećoj strani. Isto kao i što je svom guru pokoran.
So this is the idea behind the disciple taking an oath of allegiance to the GBC body.
I to je bila ideja, znači da učenik, kandidat daje svoj zavjet ne samo guru, nego i GBC tijelu.
And this, of course, is also a oath that the ISKCON gurus must take to recognize the GBC as the ultimate managing authority of ISKCON, to support the GBC system, and to remain subservient to the GBC body.
I isto tako su izmislili kurs za gurue koji su morali proći kurs da bi prepoznali i GBC kao vrhovno upravljačko tijelo ISKCON-a i da moraju biti pokorni GBC u tijelu.
So there's, let's say, many ways that one can examine the process of initiation of ISKCON today and see that it is out of line with traditional Gaudiya Siddhanta.
Ako malo izučimo i sistem inicijacije danas u ISKCON, možemo vidjeti da nije podudaran sa ISKCON, sa Gaudiya Vaishnava tradicionalnom Siddhantom.
So, and it would, for those who are interested in what ISKCON is doing in the modern day, it would be instructive to get a hold of the ISKCON disciple course and see what they are requiring of young devotees today.
Da bi malo bili upočeniji o tome što se danas odvija od ISKCON-u, dovoljno je da uzmete tekst koji trebaju položiti kandidati za inicijaciju, malo pročitate što tamo piše i bit će vam jasno kud ide ISKCON.
And the same thing for what they require of ISKCON gurus.
Ista stvar vrijedi za to ako pročitate materijale koje trebaju proučavati ISKCON gurui.
For example, the ISKCON gurus must sign an oath of allegiance to that is filed with the GBC corresponding secretary with 7 different items on it.
Gurui moraju potpisati svoju, kako kažemo, pokornost koju je dobio od GBC sekretara i tamo ima 7 stavki s kojima se moraju slagati.
With emphasis here on the GBC as the ultimate authorities.
Sa naglaskom na to da je GBC vrhovni autoritet ISKCON.
And the ISKCON gurus, one of the things on their list is, I shall teach all of my disciples that they are part of ISKCON.
I oni moraju potpisati da će poučavati svoje učenike da su oni dio ISKCON-a.
And I shall accept only disciple candidates who are qualified according to the standards and procedures of ISKCON law.
I ja ću prihvatiti učenike samo one koji su kvalificirani i u skladu sa Iskonovim zakonima.
So it's very instructive. It's kind of tedious to read through the whole list of these things, so I'm not going to do that.
Veoma je zamorno prolaziti kroz čitavu listu tih njihovih zakona, sad to ni neću.
But what I want to point out here is that the emphasis in the modern day is on the GBC body, and that everyone is subordinate to the GBC body.
Ono što je bitno da znamo da u suvremeno doba veliki je naglasak na to da budemo pokorni GBC tijelu.
And as we all know, the GBC body have shown themselves, demonstrated that they are not infallible.
I kao što svi znamo i što možemo vidjeti, ljudi iz GBC tijela su pokazali da oni nisu bezgrešni.
So, what this shows us is that the GBC body, they are interested more in control of everyone rather than being facilitators of their spiritual life. They want to remain in control of their spiritual life.
Umjesto da budu tijelo koje, grupa ljudi koje podupiru nečiji duhovni život, oni zapravo se nameću kao kontrolori nečijeg duhovnog života.
And this is, of course, what I demonstrated in my Divine or Demoniac book, that the powers that be, my thesis is that the powers that be have infiltrated all religion for the purpose of making them subservient to the state.
I to je ono o čemu sam ja pisao u svojoj knjizi, božanski ili demonski, da su sve religije zapravo infiltrirane kako bi se na kraju kako bi sljedbenici te religije postali pokorni državi.
So, spiritual life means freedom.
Duhovni život znači sloboda.
You cannot have true spiritual life without freedom.
I couldn't hear properly. Can you repeat?
You cannot have actual, true spiritual life without having complete freedom.
Ne možete imati istinski duhovni život bez slobode.
So, in these ways, the GBC body are unfortunately demonstrating that they are not acting in ways, let's say that they are acting in ways that interfere with personal spiritual development.
I na taj način GBC tijelo ljudi demonstriraju da su oni ti koji se upliću u nečiji duhovni razvoj.
If you are free to determine who you would like to take initiation from, and that person is free to accept you, then you have full responsibility. Each party, rather, has full responsibility for their part of the relationship.
Ako vi imate slobodu da izaberete od koga ćete dobiti inicijaciju i guru ima slobodu da vas prihvati, onda su oba dve strane odgovorne za taj odnos.
Which is as it should be.
I to je onako kako bi trebalo biti.
So, let's see what time we have. Yeah, let's stop there and we can have discussion.
Staćemo ovdje i možemo imati diskusiju. Imamo nekih pitanja?
Evo imam ja. Može?
Ajde.
Hvala Guru Maharađu za ovako, mislimo, podrobno izlaganje i informaciju o tome što se događa. Ali meni se čini da to uopće nema nikakve logike. Ako GBC uveo tolike testove za gurue i za učenike, a ko njih testira? Mislim, ko njih testira? Mislim, nije
Okay.
po toj logici bi se i njih trebalo testirati.
Thank you, Maharaj, for a very nice and detailed explanation. What you have just said really doesn't make any sense because I'm wondering who is testing them, the GBC members. Who is test? They should also pass some exams as well.
Šrila Prabhupada nema, ne?
Now, Srila Prabhupada is not around, but they should be also to prove their quality and credibility.
Yes. This is, I make a detailed analysis of this in my book.
Ja sam napravio detaljnu analizu toga u svojoj knjizi.
It's actually an analysis that Hridayananda Maharaj made when he was on the outside of the GBC.
Tu je analizu napravio Hridayananda Maharaj kad je izašao iz GBC-a.
That there are many requirements for gurus that have no corresponding requirement for the GBC.
Za guruje postoji jako puno zahtjeva, a za GBC članove ne postoje takvi zahtjevi.
Even though the GBC are in a position superior to that of the gurus.
I tako da čak i unatoč činjenici da su GBC članovi superiorni u odnosu na guruje.
So this in itself is very telling.
To samo po sebi govori da nešto smrdi, da nešto nije u redu.
Yes. So some of you who have, you've all been initiated in perhaps the last 20 years. So I'd like to hear your experience, if what I'm saying is congruent or in keeping with what your experience was, and also whether your experience was positive or, let's say, less than positive.
Volio bi čuti vas koji ste dobili inicijaciju recimo u zadnjih 20 godina, kakva su vaša iskustva, da li ste imali neka povoljna iskustva u vezi toga ili možda neka loša u vezi inicijacije, slobodno se javite.
Gora.
I just want to say that thank you very much, Maharaj, for explaining very clearly everything. It's a clear fact that institution is working miserably. For example, I know cases when the spiritual master was, as you mentioned in the presentation, was under suspension and was not allowed to give initiation to his disciples or to accept new disciples under a certain period of time. But for example, this fact, which I was researched late and discovered later, was never communicated to the prospective disciples or to the disciples. Instead of that, disciples were told the lies that the spiritual master is not initiating because he's ill, it will be burden for his health, etc., etc. So it is just fishy. Everything was fishy. It was a complete lie. If you produce so many rules, regulations, then why don't you at least have courage to say, no, this spiritual master is under suspension? Although, as explained, it is not third party's business. But it was also not straightforward to say this spiritual master is under the suspension. That's one thing. Then another thing is that...
Okay, translate that before you go on.
So, hoću reći da GBC, hvala se Mađu što je napravio tu prezentaciju i stvari smrde, jer iako je GBC stvorio toliko pravila i propise, ja znam slučajeve kad duhovni učitelj nije mogao ili smio inicirati ili prihvaćati nove učenike, je bio pod suspenzijom GBC-a, ali ta činjenica nikad nije bila direktno i pošteno prenešena učenicima, sam kasnije otkrio istražujući stvari, nego se učenicima govorilo duhovni učitelj ne može inicirati jer je bolestan, duhovni učitelj ne može inicirati, bi to bilo teret za njegovu zdravlje i tako dalje. Znači, iako uvode gomilu pravila propisa, nikad se stvari nisu bile direktne i poštene prenesene učenicima.
Okay, next point.
Next point is that I remember when Harikesh Maharaj left the movement, shortly after that, the Guru Puja to the spiritual master was suspended in the temple. There are no more Guru Puja when the disciples were offering flowers and chanting Guru Puja in the morning, and then after it was at 7 a.m. and afterwards at 7:15 was for the Srila Prabhupada. So again, it is just infiltrating the relation between the disciple and the spiritual master. GBCs just want to control how disciples should worship spiritual master, which is complete nonsense according to the Shastras. Sljedeća poanta koju bih htio reći je da nakon što je Harikeš otišao, onda isto tako i ukinuta jutarnja Guru Puđa koje su učenici pjevali Guru Puđu i nudili cvijeće svom duhovnom učitelju, što je još jedan dokaz da GBC jednostavno kontrolira odnos među gura i učenika, jer toga nigdje nema da netko kao GBC kontrolira kako će učenik obožavati svog duhovnog učitelja. Znači, petljaju se taj biznis. But I wanted to say that you were speaking about some high topic, Vaishnava Diksa, but another topic which is bothering me a lot is that even sannyasis are completely under the control. I know many cases of devotees who are not allowed to take initiation. You are one of them within ISKCON because you are not wanted to submit yourself to the rules to take just sannyas. But I also know about the devotees who took sannyas and who are afraid not to do something wrong because they've said some GBC could interfere my sannyas initiation. I'm far away from sannyas. I was in that time local preacher in Zagreb, and they brought forward some guidelines about giving lectures. And if someone wanted to give Sunday feast lecture, he had to sign those guidelines, which were directing what you should speak and what you should not speak. And I was under the suspension as a casual local devotee. So if you are tying tongue of local devotees to preach, if you are not allowing sannyasis to be free, then you have nothing. You can just have the movement of complete beginners, kanishta adhikaris, who will not attract anyone intelligent in this world. That's what is happening with this movement. Zadnja poanta koju želim reći, ne samo da GBC se miješa u stvar koja je vrlo visoka inicijacija, nego jednostavno veže usta i sanjasima, ne dozvolja. Ja znam mnogi slučaje bakta koji su htjeli uzeti sanjas, Maharaj je jedan primjer koji nije se htio pokoriti GBC-u i nije im dozvolio da uzmu sanjas. Znam primjer osobe koja mi je uzimala sanjas i rekla moram se paziti da nešto krivo ne napravim, će mi neki GBC spriječi da uzmem sanjas. To znači, a s druge strane imam slučaj osobni, kad sam bio obični propovjednik u lokalnom centru u Zagrebu, gdje su donijeli odluku da se mora potpisati lokalne smjernice za davanje lekcija, gdje je bilo definirano šta smijete govoriti i šta ne smijete govoriti. I sad, ako običnim baktama ne date da propovijedaju, ako sanjasima ne date da slobodno uzimaju sanjas i propovijedaju, onda dobijemo šta? Dobijemo instituciju koja je puna početnika kanishta adhikarije, koja ne može nikog inteligentnog u ovom svijetu privući. To je ono što danas imamo u ovom pokretu.
Thank you. Satya Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you very much for the nice explanation and just pointing the deep problems that we have in institution. My question is, let's say, a little bit more philosophically related, so maybe you can shed some light regarding this. For example, if someone, let's say that someone who is a spiritual master has to have, let's say, at least ruchi, asakti, and bhava, if he can transfer this to disciple. So we see that, for example, as GBC maybe pointing out someone who is not at that level, and this can initiate further, just officially initiate other disciples. So my question is, what this disciple is getting if the spiritual master is only appointed without having, the Nishta, Ruchya, Sakti and all this? What about speaking of Bhava?
Prabhu, možeš prevesti pitanje.
Htio sam prije svega zahvaliti Maharađu što je dao jako dobro i duboko objašnjenje svega ovoga što imamo sada. Moje pitanje je bilo da duhovni učitelj mora biti kvalificiran i jednostavno biti na nivou ručija, asaktija i bave da bi svom učeniku također nešto dao. To se zove bhakti lata idja. I sad je moje pitanje bilo, ako je on lojalan GBC-u i jednostavno, a nema to, a postane duhovni učitelj, šta on daje svom učeniku na inicijaciji?
I'm going to speak more about this in detail next week, but I'll give you a preliminary answer.
Ja ću sljedeći tjedan govoriti malo detaljnije o tome, ali ovako daću ti jedan skraćeni odgovor.
The Srila Prabhupada comments in the Bhagavad Gita that one may accept as a spiritual master anybody, either whether they are Kanishta, Madhya, or Uttama Adhikari.
Što Prabhupada Bhagavad Gita kaže u komentarima da osoba može izabrati duhovnog učitelja koji je na Uttama nivou, Madhyama ili čak Kanishta nivou.
However, if one accepts someone from a lower level as their guru, it's understood that they cannot progress very well with his insufficient guidance.
I nekako se podrazumijeva da ako neko izabere duhovnog učitelja koji je na nižem nivou, da on ne može baš toliko napredovati, dobivati baš toliko kvalitetno vodstvo.
With the understanding, of course, that one can only teach what they have understood.
S razumijevanjem da osoba može poučavati samo ono što je razumio.
And if they have not progressed to the higher stages of bhakti yoga, bhava, or ruchi bhava, and so on, they're not able to give guidance about how to enter into those aspects of devotional service.
I ako neko nije naučio ili nije došao na taj nivo ruči bava i tako dalje, on ne može poučavati svoje učenike da dođu na taj isti nivo.
And in fact, let's say, there generally is not very much stated about these stages of Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti.
Obično mi ne govorimo jako puno o Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti.
In fact, many devotees are not even educated in understanding that there's two aspects of bhakti yoga. There's Vaidhi sadhana bhakti and there's Raganuga sadhana bhakti.
Činjenica je da većina bhakta zapravo nisu poučeni, nisu trenirani u tome da nauče da postoje dva aspekta bhakti joge, Vaidhi bhakti i Raganuga bhakti.
To the point where some even senior devotees say, oh, we should not discuss Raganuga sadhana, we're not qualified. But it's part of bhakti yoga. You should know what it is and how you were supposed to get there.
Ali čak i neki stariji bhakte su uplašeni da uopće razgovaraju o toj temi. Mi ne trebamo razgovarati o Raganuga bhakti. Ali Raganuga bhakti je dio bhakti joge procesa. Ako ne razumiješ to, kako ćeš doći na taj nivo?
Anyway, I'll speak in more detail about this next week.
Tako da sljedeći tjedan ću više govoriti o tom.
So, any of you, I'd like to hear from you who have been initiated, who have had, I'm not trying to paint, let me start over. I'm not trying to paint a really black picture or just point out faults in ISKCON. What I'm simply want to present the history as it has been to understand, how it is different from proper Vaishnava Siddhanta.
Gledajte, ja ne pokušavam ovdje da naclikam nekakvu crnu sliku za vas ili samo da ukazujem greške. Jednostavno, moje da vam pokazujem činjenice, povijesne činjenice i u odnosu na prakticiranje i odstupanje Vaishnava Siddhante u ISKCON.
This does not mean that in all cases it has been a failure, certainly not.
To ne znači da su svi ti slučajevi bili kako da kažem, neuspjeli. Ne, bilo je i uspješnih, kako da kažem, svjetlih primjera.
Krishna is in the heart of everyone, and he is also helping. So, despite the, let's say, challenges, many devotees still make progress.
Krišna se nalazi u srcu svojih bakta i uprkos mnogim izazovima bakte prave ozbiljan duhovni napredak.
Vijay Prabhu, what do you tell us?
Tako, da, mikrofon.
Krishna Maharaj, thank you very much
Hare Krishna.
for the presentation. Govorit ću hrvatski, bit će jednostavnije.
Ajde.
Htio bih reći Maharađu da mi je danas odgovorio na jedno pitanje koje ima već 20 godina. Njegovo objašnjenje mi je odgovorilo na jedan događaj, ispričat ću koji.
Maharaj, your exposition of Vaishnava Diksa has answered to one of my questions that I have had for 20 years. I'll tell you what it is about.
Samo čas.
Please go.
Struja.
Problem with electricity, okay.
Bakte, svi se znao, većina bakta se zna. Moj sin je bio u Gurukuli u Majapuru.
My son was Gurukuli in Mayapur.
I tamo su se često održavali GBC sastanci.
And there were frequent GBC meetings in Mayapur in those days.
I gurukulci su redovito ili često su kuhali i služili su tamo GBC za vrijeme sastanka.
So Gurukula kids had to cook and serve the GBC, those people who were present in those in the meetings, GBC people.
I oni baš nisu pratili šta se tamo dešava, ali su bili prisutni, vidjeli su svašta.
They didn't know fully what was going on there, but just by being present there, they saw all different kind of things.
How old was your boy at that time?
Koliko ti je bio star sin u to vrijeme?
15 godina.
He was 15 at that time.
Okay, good enough to get a decent idea.
Dovoljno star da vidi što se događa.
Da. I onda on je pričao redovito nakon tih sastanaka ili u tijeku tih sastanaka koji su trajali obično cijeli dan, jako dugo. U to vrijeme još je bio je prisutan Suhotra s vami. I onda redovito ili u tim i u tijeku sastanka ili na kraju sastanka on bi izašao van, Suhotra s vami, i onda u blizini Gurukule je bila jedna kunda gdje su se oni kupali i Suhotra s vami je bio, on je to opisao kao kad je bio je bijesan, on je izašao van i vrištao je, on je bio lud, koliko je bio uznemiren i on bi redovito izašao van, onda bi se zaletio trčeći svom brzinom koliko je god mogao i u to jezero bi se bacio unutra i vrišteći they make me crazy, they make me crazy, i lupao bi rukama, nogama, on bi divljao, on ne bi se mogao smiriti, a gurukulci nisu znali o čem se radi, niti ja nisam znao o čem se radi.
Can you remember all that?
Čekaj, Vijay Prabhu da prevedem. So those meetings were very long. They were taking actually whole day. And one of the participants was Suhotra Maharaj, but he would sometimes took a break in the middle of the meeting and he was visibly upset and angry. So he would run into nearby Kunda lake and he was screaming and shouting. But the Gurukula kids that they didn't know what he was shouting about. And he was shouting, they're making me crazy. They're making me crazy.
Da, on je valjda vidio
Yeah.
što se događa, ne, to su bile njegove reakcije. Evo, to sam
So,
htio
so what
istaknuti.
Swami most probably he knew what was going on.
Yeah, of course he did, and he was an honest man.
Naravno, Suhotra Maharaj je bio pošten čovjek.
Yeah, why they have closed meetings? They should have, if it's a real spiritual society, they should be open meetings, huh?
Zašto su oni imali zatvorene sastanke? Ako je to pravo duhovno društvo, zašto njihovi sastanci nisu bili otvoreni za svakoga?
Vijay, what about your initiation experience? As I was explaining, was it similar, different? Do I have anything wrong? You can make correction. What?
Vijay Prabhu, kako je bilo u vezi tvoje inicijacije? Kako imaš iskustvo u vezi toga?
Pa ne znam, ja nisam polagao nikakve testove, ali sam dosta dugo čekao, ja sam učenik Sačinandana Svamija i čekao sam koliko, 7 godina, preko 7 godina da sam dobio inicijaciju, ali nisam razmišljao uopće o tim stvarima, nisam znao o tim politikama, jednostavno sam radio ono što se očekivalo, a kažem, nisam pisao nikakve testove, niti sam polagao, ni bio nekako.
Okay, so I wasn't required to pass any exams, so I didn't get any questions, but I had to wait long for first initiation because I was initiated by Sachinanda Maharaj, and his standard was, he was quite demanding, so I was waiting for 7 years to get first initiation.
Yes, different gurus, they can establish their own criteria, and even yatras. For example, in Ukraine, to get first initiation, they made a requirement devotees had to pass Bhakti Shastri test.
Znači, različiti gurui daju različite kriterije za inicijaciju kandidata. A i neke jatre, evo recimo u Ukrajini da bi dobili prvu inicijaciju morate položiti Bhakti Shastri test.
Gaur, Prabhu.
I wanted to share one experience. It is also a question if you can comment. If it doesn't fit in today's topic, freely skip to the next one. Okay. When I was coming to the spiritual, the Krishna consciousness, then I was hearing the preaching that it is expected from the disciples unconditional surrender in order to be delivered back home, back to Godhead by the spiritual master. That was the same with all the spiritual masters which were giving initiations in the zone. But after some time, I noticed that many spiritual masters fell down from the process, that the preaching of practical all the spiritual masters in our zone, I don't know about other zones, shifted, and there was no more preaching that you should unconditionally surrender to the spiritual masters in order to be delivered, to go back home, back to Godhead, but that the duty of the spiritual master is just to connect with the Srila Prabhupada. The Srila Prabhupada will take you to the spiritual world. And so some way I noticed that the spiritual master just simply wanted to get rid of the responsibilities which was promised in the beginning of our relationship towards Srila Prabhupada. So if you can comment about that and if it doesn't fit the topic of today.
Yeah,
I can just translate.
Oh yeah, okay, go ahead.
Moje iskustvo je kad sam dolazio s Svetstvom Krišnom da se od učenika očekivalo nepomučeno potpuno predavanje bez ikakvih uvjeta duhovnom učitelju za uzred da bi te duhovni učitelj oslobodio materijalne egzistencije, vratio natrag u duhovni svijet Krišne. I to je bilo kod svih duhovnih učitelja, kod našega također. No, nakon što se proces išao dalje, vidio sam, nakon što je više duhovnih učitelja palo, govorimo o našoj zoni, ne znam za stvari izvan naše zone, primijetio sam da se kod naših duhovnog učitelja i kod drugih duhovnih učitelja u njihovom propovjedanju promijenilo način propovjedanja i više se nije propovjedalo da se trebaš predati duhovnom učitelju koji će te odvesti natrag u duhovni svijet, nego se počne propovjedati da ćete duhovni učitelj odvesti samo do Srila Prabhupada koji ćete osloboditi i na neki način se je postalo jasno duhovni, odnosno inicirajući duhovni učitelj žele skinuti odgovornost sa sebe da izbave učenika, da ga odvedu u duhovni svijet, nego samo te trebaju povezati sa Šrila Prabhupom. Sad moje pitanje da ako Maharaž to može komentirati i ako to povezano sa današnjom lekcijom, ako ne može za drugi put.
I'll speak about that next week.
Sljedeći tjedan ću govoriti o tom.
Now, I want to ask any of you who are here who are not yet initiated, if you have, specifically you, if you have any questions.
Zanima me, vi koji još niste inicirani, da li imate nekakva pitanja u vezi ovoga?
Because I'm giving these classes specifically for those who have yet to take initiation so that they can understand the history, and by understanding that history, understand more about the entire process and approach this matter very seriously.
Ja uglavnom dajem ove lekcije za vas koji još niste inicirani, da razumijete povijest inicijacije i da ovu temu shvatite, da ovoj temi priđete sa ozbiljnošću.
If you want to ask a question anonymously, you could put it in the chat box and we will not use your name. I can understand there's maybe some reaction for being present in this.
Dr. Miller has a question.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes,
Maybe I can tell it better in Croatian. So,
sure. Yeah, go ahead. Yes.
Ja imam toliko mnogo pitanja. Ja posjećujem Hare Krishna centar u Osijeku već 5 godina i sa centrom sam u specifičnim i posebnim odnosima.
I've been visiting local Hare Krishna center in Osijek for 5 years, and I have very peculiar relationship with the center.
What center? Where?
Osijek, yes, it's Eastern Croatia.
Okay.
I imam toliko mnogo pitanja da ne bi sad u ovom momentu mogu izabrati jedno specifično da postavim Maharažu, ali vjerujem da će biti mogućnost da mu postavim više pitanja koja su mi od jako velikog značaja, koja nažalost nisam za 5 godina uspio saznati i postaviti u centru u Osijeku.
I have many questions actually, and the answers to those questions I cannot get in the local temple. So perhaps the next time you will have more.
Oh, yeah. Please give me a list of your questions, and I'll make sure that I answer them.
Okay. Napiši listu tih pitanja. Zaista, možeš meni poslati i onda ću ja Maharaži proslijediti ta pitanja. I told him that he can send me the list and then I will forward it to you.
Okay.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, we must be honest with ourselves and everybody else. You know, I mean, go ahead.
Moramo biti pošteni i prema samima sebi i prema drugima.
We do ourselves a disservice if we do not ask our questions and satisfy our intelligence.
Mi ne možemo imati nikakve dobrobiti od toga ako ne postavljamo pitanja i koristimo svoju inteligenciju.
Gor, do you have something else to?
Yes, it is connected with this request you asked. There is a problem which I'm speaking with several elder devotees for many years, and we have a problem that often we say that if you want to cultivate some nice new people, don't send them to the Hare Krishna temple because they will spoil them. But then after some time, of course, there's a question of initiation. So to whom we can recommend, I'm, quite reserved about some younger devotees who are not initiated. They approached me about this question to whom, what to do with their initiation, and I told them my answer was at that time when they asked me, just wait for some time. This institution should collapse, and probably the guru system will change rapidly. So just be patient take shelter of Srila Prabhupada, etc. But this is the question, how to react in this situation. It is not just my question, it's a question of several elder devotees who are preaching, cultivating new people, etc. How to handle this situation.
Okay, translate.
Moje pitanje koje muči i mene već više godina i mnoge stare bakte s kojima pričam, koje propovijedaju kultivire mlađe bakte, je na primjer da su me neki mlađi bakte koji nisu inicirani pitali u početku samo kažeš ljudima nemoj dovoditi nove ljude u Hare Krishna hram da ih ne pokvare tamo, ali nakon nekog vremena se postavlja pitanje inicijacije. Mene su isto tako pitali, a isto sam prilično rezerviran koga preporučiti, ono kome. I do sad sam odgovor koji sam im dao, sam rekao strpite se, uzmite utočište Šrila Prabhupada, jer ovaj sistem, institucija se mora na neki način raspasti, ovaj guru sistem se mora rapidno promijeniti, budite strpljivi, ali pitanje kako funkcionirati, kakav savjet dati tim ljudima.
This question has been a problem for senior devotees for a very long time.
Za starije bakte ovo pitanje je problem već dugo vremena.
And to this point, they haven't had a sufficiently good answer, and many devotees, they wind up go to Ritvik Vada or Gaudiya Mat or Narayan Maharaj or someplace else.
S obzirom da u Iskonu nisu mogli naći na dobre odgovore, na to pitanje mnogi bakte su otišli izvan Iskona, otišli su u Gaudiya Mat, kod Narayan Maharaja i tako na druga mjesta.
So, which is why I'm finally addressing this question myself, although it's not been my desire to take on this service, but I recognize the necessity of it and the necessity of establishing the Vaishnava Diksa in a proper way.
Da kažem iskreno, ja sam isto zabrinut za ovo i moja namjera je da ispravim neke stvari i da pridonesem tome da konačno se počne dobivati Vaishnava Diksa na pravilan način.
And there's no doubt that as these lectures become widely known, I will be criticized from probably every side.
I sad nema sumnje u to da kako ove moje lekcije postanu popularne, a kad ih mnogi čuju, ja znam da ću početi dobivati kritike sa svih strana.
But my purpose is to serve the society, to serve the devotees who are looking for Diksha in proper Gaudiya Vaishnava Siddhanta, and to do what I can to help set my spiritual master's mission back in proper order.
Ali vjerujte mi, moja jedina namjera da dovedem proces Vaishnava Dikše u skladu sa Vaishnava Siddhantom i onako kako nam je Šrila Prabhupada propovijedao, i to bi bila moja služba za mog duhovnog učitelja Šrila Prabhupada.
And again, I'll speak about this next week. That will be the fourth and final lecture in this series.
I sljedeći tjedan ću govoriti više o tome. To će biti četvrta i zadnja lekcija u ovoj seriji.
Hare Krishna. Okay, something else? No? Okay, yeah, Rudra Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj. Pa evo ga, ja želim istaknuti još jednu stvar za kraj sada, da to i najobičniji ljudi, najobičniji bakte mogu vidjeti taj filter GBC-a, onaj najgrublji, da nema brige za djecu, nema brige za žene, nema brige za stare ljude, pa čak i u Zagrebu smo imali slučaj da se jednostavno stari ljudi više ne gledaju kao upotrebljivi i da se izbacuju. Prema tome, to je jedan, ja bih rekao, najgrublji filter preko koje mogu vidjeti svi ljudi.
I would like to say that everybody can see the downsides of, he calls it filter, downsides of GBC, that they don't take care for children, they don't take care for women and older people. And in our local community in Zagreb, the elderly devotees are seen like, but duration. They are not so much usable for devotional service, so they are marginalized.
Mm-hmm. Very sad commentary.
Da, veoma tužan komentar.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Okay. Well, okay. So thank you again for participating today and giving me the opportunity to have your association.
Hvala vam još jednom što ste učestvovali večeras u ovome i što ste mi davali priliku da budem i ja u vašem društvu.
Next week we'll have our fourth and final presentation on this series of Vaishnava Diksa.
I sljedeći tjedan ćemo imati zadnju lekciju, prezentaciju na ovu temu Vaishnava Dikše.
And particularly if you know somebody who's not initiated, who's looking for initiation, invite them to come to hear, not that I'm advertising myself, but to hear what I'm saying so that they can compare what they're hearing from other places.
Ako znate nekoga koje tek treba dobiti inicijaciju, pozovite ga da dođe, da učestvuje u sljedeći puta, da sluša lekciju. Ne da ja sebe reklamiram, nego jednostavno da čuju što ja imam za reći i da to porede sa onim što čuju o toj temi na drugim mjestima.
Each of us must take the responsibility of understanding the mission of Srila Prabhupada and doing our part to carry it forward to future posterity.
Svi mi imamo odgovornost da razumijemo pravilno misiju Srila Prabhupada i našu odgovornost da tu misiju prenesemo na sljedeća pokoljenja.
And, when somebody says that, we usually think, who, me? I'm nobody.
Ako kažemo netko, onda kažemo ko? Ja? Pa ja sam nitko.
No, each of us have that obligation, right? To those who have come before us, who have passed Krishna consciousness on to us, we have then the obligation to pass this on to others. This is our duty.
Znači, bili su neki prije nas koji su imali obavezu da prenesu svjesnost Krišne nama i sad kad i mi imamo obavezu da je prenesemo drugima, to je naša dužnost.
So, and we should all take this very seriously.
Tako da mi to veoma ozbiljno trebamo shvatiti.
Thank you again, and I hope to see you all next week.
Hvala vam još jednom i nadam se da se vidimo sljedeći tjedan.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Haribol.
Hare Krishna, thank you, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama.